Some of us, in our relationships, married people in the room, some of us, we can think back to when running was fun in our marriage. Early on, you got the excitement, and it was like the kid version of running to the playground, right? But before long, what happens to us is we kind of get to this point where it starts feeling a whole lot like an ultra marathon. And we feel like, can I keep going? Like, can I do this? Is this worth it? Why did I sign up for this? Sometimes if we are not careful, we can get to that place. And can I tell you, you don't have to be at that place. Are there difficult days in marriage? Yes or no? Ladies, answer for them. Some of them are nervous. They're going to hurt your feelings by telling the truth here. Ladies, are there difficult days? Yes or no? Okay, now men, are there difficult days in marriage? Yes or no? Yes. It's like, no. Liar. Right? Yes, of course there are. Of course there are. And of course, some days you feel like the best you're doing is kind of shuffling along. But can I tell you, if you keep running, what a blessing. What a blessing. So how can we get to the place where, listen, we see sometimes, you see a young married couple, they're holding hands, he's opening the door, some of the things that you've heard about on the video. He positions himself on the sidewalk where he's closer to the traffic than me because he's trying to think about me, right? We see things like that, but before long, if we are not careful as husbands, ladies, if you are not careful as a wife, you can become the wife or the husband who begins taking your spouse for granted. And listen, don't we all want to be the old couple that still holds hands? Don't we want to be the old couple that still smooches in public on dates? Don't you want to be that? How can you continue to be that? Or how can you get back on track to be that couple? No matter where your relationship is, if you are still married to that person, God can give this to you. Some of you are sitting in this room and you're like, dude, you don't even know. If you knew, right? If you knew, you wouldn't say stuff like that. I'm telling you, I've seen it. I've seen couples who have been married 35, 40 years who slipped into all they are as roommates. And by the grace of God, their love and even passion for one another is rekindled again. So how? Let's look at the text. I'm so glad you're here to find out how. Let's look at the text, Song of Solomon, chapter 8. Essentially, here's the one-word answer, and we're going to get specific about some things the text says for us. Here's how you get to that place. Continue. But continue in what? Just like Clifford, he didn't stop. He just kept going. I'm not going to give up. I'm going to keep going. Continue. Okay, we'll continue in what? Here's some specific things from this text that you need to continue or maybe restart. Are you there? Are you with me? All right, let's do it. Now, if you are not married in the room, this is counsel for the future for you. So don't tune out. Well, I'm not married. This isn't for me. Bull butter. All right, let's go. Get in here, okay? So what do we continue? Number one, we need to continue to pursue one another. Continue to pursue one another. Not just you pursuing him, not just him pursuing you. We need to continue pursuing one another. How do I see that? Look at chapter 8, verse number 1 and verse number 2. All right. Weird verse. You guys heard it earlier. Talking about kissing our brother, okay? Is this Tennessee? I did that. You're welcome, Amy. Is this Tennessee? Like, what's happening here? Kissing your brother? How many teeth does he have? Let's find out. Right? Okay. Chapter 8, verse 1. Oh, that you were like a brother to me who nursed at my mother's breast. If I found you outside, I would kiss you, and none would despise me. Verse 1. Weird verse. Here's basically what it means. And at this time in Jewish culture in Israel, it was faux pas, it was rude. It was considered rude for a husband and wife to kiss in public. But if you were siblings, you kiss on the cheek, you do like in bounds, obviously, totally fine. She's saying, I don't like having to hold back in public with you. She's saying, I love you so much. I don't care if it's rude or not. I wish people didn't think this way, because I want to kiss you out anytime I want to kiss you. It's like Sweet Home Alabama, so I can kiss you anytime I want. Right? That's what she's saying here. Now look at verse 2. I would lead you and bring you into the house of my mother, she who used to teach me. I would give you spiced wine to drink, the juice of my pomegranate. That means what you think it means. Hello? That means what you think it means. And this is not newlywed talk here. We're on into the marriage at this point. Right? That means what you think it means. And FYI, ladies, who said this? Initiate a little bit. Women, help us out here. Okay? Now, we'll talk about some of his stuff here in a minute, right? But that's what she means. Okay? Can I tell you, husbands, women might be more apt to love and display affection this way if they had a husband who actually also pursued her. Let me ask you a question. What are some things you did, guys, when you were dating or courting or engaged or early on married with that lady that you were like, hey, I want to win you? What are some things you did? Buy some flowers. You planned some elaborate dates. Right? You were very intentional at that stage. Why are you not intentional that way anymore? If you're not, why not? Maybe because you got your hand slapped so many times you gave up, ladies. Maybe he got his hand slapped so many times he gave up. Or maybe he's just being lazy and he's taking some things for granted. Well, you're my wife. This is what we have. You have to do this for me. Neither of those is good. Neither of those is the right perspective. Pursue one another. Husbands, flirt with her. And a sidebar here. I'm learning this. If she doesn't enjoy it, it's not flirty. Okay? I like to mess and play. Julie doesn't always like the way I mess and play. I'm not mean. I'm just... We'll move on. It's not about me. Flirt. Be thoughtful. Be playful. Go on a date. Take her somewhere. Plan something and spring it on her at an appropriate time to spring it. Right? Be courteous. Hold hands. Open her door. Not because she can't do it. Well, you don't think I can open my own door? Of course I know you can open your own door. You've been opening doors for yourself your whole life. But if I'm with you, I love you, I don't want you to have to. I want to honor you by just doing something simple for you. Not because you can't do it yourself, just because I don't want you to have to. Ladies, how's that sound? Julie said good really fast, y'all, just so you know. Okay? Give one another your attention. Tell the other person how you feel. If you love him, tell him. If you love her, tell her. Don't be the old, well, I told you I loved you on our wedding day. If anything changes, I'll let you know. Like, no, this is not okay. Tell them how you feel. You know one of the things that Julie does for me when I go on trips? Almost every trip I've ever been on that was more than one night, and sometimes even if it's one night, she will handwrite small notes and slip it into my luggage. Some of the longer mission trips I've gone on, one of the things that I'll do is I'll pack in Ziploc bags. I'll just load up a day's worth of clothing, keep it in a Ziploc bag, it's airtight, and I'll label Monday, Tuesday, whatever, right? When I do that, she is even intentional in which note she writes on which day. Hey, I'm praying for you as you preach today in that church in Uganda. I'm praying for you today as you do this. I'm praying that the work site goes well today. This is what I'm praying. And I love you, and I miss you, and I can't wait to see you. I promise not to murder our children while you're gone. Right? She's thoughtful. Put your arm around her. Put your arm around him. Buy flowers. Prioritize. I want you to hear this. Prioritize your relationship with your spouse over your relationship with your children. When they are little, there are some specific things you have to do to keep them going. But you know what your kids are going to do one day? Leave. And praise God for it. Okay? But did you know one of the highest percentage windows of time for divorce is empty nest? The highest percentage of divorce happens between year 3 and year 7 in a marriage. The next highest is as soon as the kids are out of the house, because if you've spent your marriage over the last 15, 18, however many years just being co-parents and roommates, and then you look back and you go, wait, who are you again? That's not healthy. Your kids need to know listen, Julie, small detail. If we are at home and I need something and the kids need something and it's not like life or death for them, she makes them wait and she takes care of me. Not because I've mandated that. She has done that on her own. Why? Because I'm her husband, and if it wasn't for me and her, there'd be no them. So stop, women, men, husbands, wives, stop prioritizing your children. Now, again, not in the case of abuse. You don't stay in that because, well, I have to prioritize him more than you. That's not what I'm talking about. That's not what I'm talking about. And normal, everyday stuff, you prioritize your spouse over them. If you disagree with me, I love you. You are wrong. You're wrong. So, pursue one another. Tommy Nelson said this. Let me back up for a second. What's your spouse's love language? And a love language is basically the way they feel most loved, okay? Normally, the person you marry has a different love language than you have, meaning when they feel loved when you do this, you feel loved when they do that, okay? Basically, according to, what's the guy's name? All of you know it except me. Thank you. Gary Chapman. There are 5 love languages, not in order necessarily, but physical touch, words of affirmation, acts of service, quality time, receiving gifts. Okay? I am words of affirmation. Okay? I'm a golden retriever, just like you're a good boy. Good boy, you were so pretty. And I'm good for a week. Okay? I'm good. Julie, and you see how fast that is? Julie is not that. Julie is quality time. She needs for us to sit down, toe to toe, knee to knee, face to face, and talk about everything we've thought, felt, and experienced that day. And she doesn't really like it when SportsCenter's on behind her. Right? Okay? Well, can I tell you that early in marriage, you know what people normally do? We think we're going to give love the way we want love. We assume at first, well, I want to love her I thought I was killing it. I'm telling you, I'm praising her because I'm words of affirmation. So I'm giving her the language that I speak, right? But she doesn't speak that language. So I'm giving her that language. I'm praising everything she's done. I'm telling her how pretty she is every day. I'm just thinking everything positive about her that I can possibly notice. I'm naming it. I'm calling it out to her. A few weeks later, we have this conversation, and this is what she says to me, the rascal. I just feel like this distance between us. You know why there was a distance? Because she needed quality time, and I was watching TV. She needed quality time, and I had the Xbox on. I thought I was good because I was giving her what I knew. And so we started doing a deep dive here. It's not really that deep. It was deep for me at the time. Oh, you need my attention and us to talk so that you feel close. Okay, I should probably work on giving you that. Here's what I need. Right? What's your spouse's love language? Do you even know it? Do you speak that language? We need to be aware of this. Okay? That's part of pursuing. Now, Tommy Nelson describes this idea, this phenomenon this way. He describes it kind of this back and forth, like I'm going to love you, and then you're going to love me, and then I'm going to, like a tennis match. Here's the thing, though. In a tennis match, you're trying to hit kill shots, right? Right? He talks about, like, it's not fun when you're playing tennis, you come to the net, and someone smashes one into your face, right? How about this? If it's a tennis match, have you ever played ping pong, tennis, whatever, and you've said, hey, let's see how long we can keep this going. Let's see how long we can keep this volley going. That's the perspective. Now listen, if someone hits it to you, if your spouse volleys to you, volley back. But somebody's got to volley first. Husbands, there you go. Okay? All right. Number 2, continue to enjoy one another. Continue to enjoy one another. Look at verses 3 and 4. His left hand is under my head, and his right hand embraces me. Not going to do a deep dive into that. I think you get what's going on here. It was the end of verse 2. Now verse 3 is following. Okay? Okay? Okay, now verse 4. I adjure you, O daughters of Jerusalem, that you not stir up or awaken love until it pleases. What is that? We are already married. Listen, as you keep pursuing and you keep enjoying, it's not just like this. Keep pursuing. In other words, let it kind of build. Let the excitement build in your time together and leading. Again, this is why you keep going on dates. Hello? And just so you know, this physical intimacy is a gift from God for marriage. So stop holding gifts back from one another. Stop holding gifts back from one another. This is not a bargaining chip. This is not a way to punish your spouse. Are you with me? Enjoy one another. Number 3, continue to honor your marriage covenant. Continue to honor your marriage covenant. Let's look at verses 5 and 6. Okay, so they've had their night away. Now they're coming back. Verse 5. Who is that coming up from the wilderness, leaning on her beloved? They've had a sweet night, a sweet time together, and they're walking back out, and she's like got her head on his shoulder. This is the picture here. Loving, like leaning on him. They're close. Okay? Who is that coming up from the wilderness, leaning on her beloved? Under the apple tree I awakened you. There your mother was in labor with you. There she who bore you was in labor. Again, what's with the family talk? Okay, this is an interesting verse. Let's dive into it, okay? They had their night away, they're on their way back, and they're talking about, first of all, under the apple tree. The apple tree is the place of love, the place of intimacy. Being under the apple tree, the imagery there in Jewish culture, in Israel, that's the tree of love. Okay? So that's what they're describing. We were under the apple tree. We're coming back from being under the apple tree. Okay? And this is what she says. There your mother was in labor with you. There she who bore you was in labor. You know what she's saying here? She's saying she believes that they were made by God for each other. She's saying, not that she doesn't trust the providence of God. She's saying she does trust the providence of God, the sovereignty of God. And she's saying, you were made for me. That's what she's saying. God made you be born to this family in this place so that I could meet you. And guess what? She's saying God put us together. That's awesome. That's what she's saying. And it's not out of the realm of the norm, right? Because Genesis 24, Abraham is saying, okay, my son's got to have a wife. He can't just marry anyone. She's got to believe what we believe, and she's got to be someone who will follow God, because that's the most important quality in a spouse, aside from them being the opposite gender, right? Opposite sex, okay? My son needs a wife. She needs to know and follow God. So he sends his servant. Abraham sends his servant in Genesis 24. There's some back and forth. He tells the servant what to do. He tells the servant, if it doesn't go this way, you're free. You're not in trouble, but you have to swear an oath to me that you will handle this way. And in Genesis 24, verse number 7, this is what he says. The Lord, the God of heaven, who took me from my father's house and from the land of my kindred, and who spoke to me and swore to me, to your offspring I will give this land, he will send his angel before you, and you shall take a wife for my son from there. He's saying God has prepared somebody for my child. And I'm trusting God with what happens. Have you thought about all the circumstances, not just throughout your parents' generation, but the history of the world that had to come together for you and your spouse to even meet? It blows my mind. Some of you in this room, you're married to someone who wasn't even born in the same country you were born in. God brought you together. I believe that. Now, that's not pressure. Well, I gotta find. She's going. I didn't enforce this. I just trusted God. I just tried to follow the Lord. And this is what's beautiful. If you and I are walking toward Christ in our relationship with Him, you know what's going to happen? In God's due time, if there is someone that He has for us, you know what's going to happen? You're going to bump shoulders. Because if they are pursuing Christ, the closer you get to Him, what happens to your proximity to each other? And that's not even just before you're married. That's after you're married too, FYI. You want to have greater intimacy, greater closeness with your spouse? Pursue Christ. The closer you are to Him, the closer you are to one another. Here's what's even crazier. Some of you guys didn't even know Jesus when you met each other. And God still worked all that out. Isn't that cool? God is so good. So these people, she's saying, I know God made you for me, and I know God made me for you. Now look at this last part of this verse, verse 6. Verse 6, set me as a seal upon your heart, as a seal upon your arm, for love is strong as death. Jealousy is fierce as the grave. Its flashes are flashes of fire, the very flame of the Lord. Okay, we got some flame flashes talk. We got some sparks in this relationship. What are the sparks? What's going on here? Well, let's step back for a second. What would make you willing to leave a marriage? Biblically, we see two grounds for divorce: unfaithfulness and abandonment. That's it. Okay? Let's see, unfaithfulness, abandonment. I would put, especially physical abuse, in some of that category. Okay? I would love to see reconciliation regardless of maybe what had happened. But it's a big process, and it's a big, tall task that only God could do. Okay? But for some of us, our thinking has been, whether it's been our practice or not, maybe our thinking has been, well, if there's money troubles, or heaven forbid, one of our children dies. Now, we just can't overcome that. Or we're really busy and we've kind of drifted apart. They've changed. I've changed. Well, guess what? Whose watch did they change on? Yours. I mean, they changed. You were there. Well, they did something wrong and they were sent to prison for a stint. Or we argue all the time. I'm just unhappy, or we're incompatible. Not for the believer. Not for the follower of Jesus. You might need some help. It might be something bigger than you can handle all on your own. 100%. 100%. Welcome to being married. Things that you need help handling. Welcome to life, right? She says here, set me as a seal upon your arm. She says, as a seal upon your arm, for love is strong as death, and jealousy is as fierce as the grave. In other words, she says here, you're mine, and I'm marking you with a seal. You're mine, and you're only mine. No matter what. And she says, in the same way, other than Jesus and anybody Jesus decides to raise from the death isn't giving anybody back. I'm not giving you back. That's what she says. I'm not giving you back. You're mine. No matter what, you are mine. That's what she says. And then out of that, this covenantal biblical love, that, by the way, is the same love God has for his people, the ahava love, out of that comes, its flashes are flashes of fire, the very flame of the Lord. The covenantal name of God is evoked and invoked in this passage. And this is what she is talking about. So you want to become those old people that hold hands? You want to become those old people that, like, dude, get a room. You are 70. Okay? It was gross when you were 25. You're 70. Stop it, right? Like, a little bit we kind of want to think that. No, it's not. That's beautiful. It's beautiful. So one of the ways we get there is we continue, and one of the continuings needs to be we honor our marriage covenant. You made a covenant with God and with her or him. Honor that covenant. Number 4, and we're done. Continue to value one another. Verse 7, many waters cannot quench love, neither can floods drown it. Let's stop there. She's saying, nothing will stop me from loving you. Verse 6 ended with flame talk, fire, sparks. You can't throw enough water on our love to make it quenched. No floods coming and overtaking us. I'm committed to you because of the covenant I have with God and with you, and I'm going to pursue you. I'm going to pursue us. I'm not giving up on us. In the same way death isn't giving anybody back, I'm not giving you back. You are mine. I am yours. And guess what? Nothing is stopping us. She values him and their relationship to that level. Now look at the last part of this. If a man offered for love all the wealth of his house, he would be utterly despised. Question, what would you trade for your family? I had a guy that I served with on staff. He was the senior adult director at the church I used to serve at. When he came on staff, he had retired from Parks and Recreation in Chattanooga. He won like national awards, just amazing at it. He retired and realized retirement for him was lame, and he wanted to keep serving, and he wanted to serve the Lord, and so the Lord opened a door. He served on staff. He's, I think, still on staff there as the director of senior adult ministry. Great guy. When Eli was born, when Isaac was born, when Caleb, I forgot that one, was born, when Hallie was born, I didn't forget her. He walked up to me the very first Sunday we had him at church, each one of them. And this is what he said. He said, I'll give you $1 million for him right now. I said, no way. He said, think about what you just said. You're a millionaire. More than that. More valuable than that. What would you trade for your family? Well, I'm not happy. You realize, can you think forward a little bit? Think to a graduation, but there's been this. Not for biblical reasons, but just because I wasn't happy anymore. We're not compatible. We didn't get along. Think forward to your kid's wedding day. Think forward to when your first grandchild's born. What would you trade for your family? Chances are, if we thought about it, we would agree with this text where it said, if a man offered for love all the wealth of his house, he would be utterly despised. Meaning you'd go, what are you doing? Why are you, for money? For you value that more than... 1 Corinthians 13, verse 8, the first part says, love never ends. Love never ends. So, let's compile all this for a second, because here's the thing. I know I'm standing in a room with people who, like you, have gone through maybe the most painful thing, one of the most painful things in the world, that you were married and then the marriage didn't make it. There was a split. There was a divorce. One, you are not a second-class citizen. Please don't hear anything I said today as that. That's not the intent. The intent is to encourage those who are still married or who will one day be married or maybe one day be married again to do things the right way. So one, you are not a second-class citizen if you've had to walk through those days. You are not. I'm not saying that. Two, you and I, and this is really the bigger one, you and I need to know that we need God's help to love and to continue to pursue this way. Because the root of this covenantal love is found in Christ alone. You can't I'm going to try harder. I'm going to do better. I'm going to read this book, and every day for 40 days it's going to tell me one thing to do to interact with my wife or my husband. And then all the problems are just going to go away, just like a movie. I'm not saying that. Here's what I am saying. Apart from being rooted and grounded in Christ and His love for you, you'll never be able to have what you want to have one day. And apart from that, if you even have from the world's perspective outside looking in, they love each other, they like each other. Listen, they like each other. They've been married 50 years and they like each other. Even if, as someone who doesn't know Jesus, you have that on the outside, from the outside looking in, you're missing the greatest part of marriage. Because Ephesians 5 says, I'm telling you that this husband-wife stuff, it refers to Christ and the church. Listen, you're missing the main thing. And that's Jesus. So today, are you married, but you have stopped shuffling along? Can I tell you, wake up Put your overalls on. Put your rubber boots back on, if that's what you got to wear, and start shuffling again. Second, can I tell you, we've done worse to God than anyone has done to us. And his love for you has not changed. So you trust in him. You follow him, and you leave the results up to him. Don't follow your feelings. Don't follow your emotions. Don't follow the pattern of this world. You follow Jesus, and you leave the results with him.